Okay, for this session, we will actually be demonstrating the test kit from SpectroQuant silicate test, right? So within this particular test kit itself, there is actually a manual and a step that actually can be found in the Move 100 operating manual. From the operating manual, you should be able to actually get this particular formulation and the steps to actually help you through how to prepare the samples. Right, for starters, within the kit itself, actually comes with 3 different reagents. They are labeled as Si1, Si2 and Si3. Right, so these reagents will actually be used accordingly during the sample preparation of your required samples as well as standards. So for this particular demonstration, we'll actually be using a standard from our CertiPure range, which is the silicon standard solution. Right, so first we actually be labeling these particular empty cells. Right, so these are actually clean and dry ones. First, we actually use our labels to actually label on the caps top. Right, next, write down whatever you need. So for this particular demonstration, we'll actually be having 2 samples. One sample is actually a standard, and the other one is actually a sample directly from the Singapore's tap water in our lab, as well as a blank that is actually required. Right, so after labeling these samples and standards, we actually need to check your samples whether the pH range are actually between 2 to 10. So using our pH paper, we actually test it. Right, so for type 1 water, just check. Yes, it's pH around 7. And for our sample, which is the tap water, right, so it's about 5. Right, so it's still within 2 to 10 pH range. Right, so our samples are actually within the range, and we can actually start to prepare all the samples available. Right, so first we will actually add 10 ml of water into our blank. Right, so this will actually be your blank that you don't need to add any reagent into it. Okay. So here I'm adding 10 ml of distilled water or type 1 water, depending on the water quality that you have in the lab. Okay. Right. Next, we'll prepare our standard and samples together. Right. So for samples and standards, first you need to add 5 ml of water into each of these test tubes. Yep. 5 ml of water. So this water will be your distilled water in your lab. Okay. Next, you need to add in your samples. That will actually be around 0.5 ml of your samples, or standards if you are actually using one. So in this example or demonstration here, we'll actually be using a standard that was actually diluted from our main silicon standard solution down to around 250 milligrams or ppm of silicate. Then it's actually equivalent to 535 ppm of silicate dioxide. Right, so we actually add 500 microliters of 0.5 ml. Next is adding 500 microliters or 0.5 ml of your sample tap water. Okay. Then cap it up tightly. Make sure you don't actually have it loosen, because otherwise you lose your sample. Right, give it a good shake. Okay. So using the next step, if you actually follow the instructions properly, the next step is actually to add in 4 drops of your silica or Si1 reagents, right? So the importance of this addition of this reagent is actually to invert it completely 180 degrees. So I'll be showing here how to actually put in properly your reagents. Right, so first you have to actually totally invert them. Right, then you add in 4 drops. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, okay, that's for your standards, and another one for your sample. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, again cap it up, and you've got to mix it well. So just give it a good shake. Okay, then once you're done, open up again. Now we'll be adding the second reagent or Si2 reagent. That will be consisting of 2 mils, right? So you can actually use a glass pipette or you can use a micro pipette. Okay, 2 mils. Right, so this is the silica second reagent. We're adding 2 mils. At this point, you should be able to see some color changes to your samples if they are actually consisting of silica. So don't worry about the color change, it's normal. So after the addition of 2 mils of your second reagent, just cap it again and give it a good shake. Right, so if you follow according to this manual or the steps, you are supposed to give it a reaction time A of 2 minutes. Okay, after 2 minutes of reaction time A, so there is actually a third step. You are supposed to add in the third reagent or Si3. So this time round will also be 4 drops according to the method. Right, so first, open up the caps. Okay, next, to show you again, this is very important. Right, so in this sense itself, you need to add in 4 drops, 180 degrees. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing to your samples. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so once you are completed adding these reagents, so just cap it up again, give it a good shake, and leave it for 2 minutes for second reaction or reaction time B. Okay, the second reaction is up. So what we need to do now is all the samples and the blanks are actually prepared. So now we actually focus our attention on the Move 100 equipment. So first, switch it on by holding on the on-off button. Right, Move 100 will actually perform the self-test to make sure that everything is working fine. After which, you can actually select directly to the methods. For our method today is actually silicate. So we actually press, hold on to the shift button, then you actually key in 4, 2, 1. Then after which you actually press enter. It will actually bring you directly to the method that's actually being pre-programmed into our Move 100 system. So first, you need to actually do a zeroing. So it's important to actually zero your equipment. So first things, you need to actually use a Kim wipe or actually a lint-free tissue paper to actually wipe off any of these oil stains and make sure that this particular glass does not have scratches because it will actually affect your readings. Right, so once you are assured that there is actually no fingerprint, no oil print, no scratches, it's good to go. Then you can actually insert your 16 mm tube into it. Then you actually press the 0 button. So the equipment will actually auto zero by itself. Alright. Okay, so once your zero has been accepted, next thing is actually to do your measurements for your standards as well as your samples. So take out your blank, and next we'll measure our standard. So this is the standard that we have prepared earlier. Right, so same thing, we actually wipe it, make sure there are no thumb prints or fingerprints. Right, make sure there are no scratches. Okay, so when it's good to go, we actually press it in. Right, then we actually press the test button. Right, so the equipment is reading. So you can see that now the reading is around 269 milligrams per liter of silica. Right, so this is almost very close to whatever that we actually initially diluted. But of course, there's always an error, a factor of error. Say for example, my micro pipette tips or my pipetting skills. Yep. So there's actually an error there. Right, so after the standard is measured, then we can actually measure the sample. Right, so same thing, wipe it out, make sure there are no fingerprints, no scratches. Place your sample 60 iron tubes in, and again press measure. Right, press once more, then you are actually off to measuring your samples. Right, so in our tap water we have close to around 7 milligrams per liter of silicon. Right, and there you have it. So we have actually showed you how to actually prepare the samples as well as operate on the Move 100 system.